Well, technically, she's a perfect.
Je pense que moi, je me prends pour qui, puis je me prends pour moi. Je me prends ça. Bébé.
She's a firm because it's easy. She can put it back. He's in. He'll be a firm because it's like, okay, doing goods. But she said. She said.
If I was a distant man, if I had blood, I could. Now,
She wanted to, but I'm saying, well, plans.
Too much riding.
It's one person.
Maybe I back to that.
And Steve on,
Back.
she would also do violation.
I'm so sorry. I tried.
Was there evidence of the? Give her the.
4 or 5 minutes. I don't say. I'm like this kind of.
Unless you Right, so you think about it. They're still responsible. Right. Check 1, 2, 2, 2.
No, I feel sure. It's so right. Oh, right, yeah. But they're fine. They're fine. So they're wrong. I would say the same. That's not her. So they can turn that.
This one is.
Hello.
Check 1, 2. Check, check. Check 1, 2.
You are all creation. Anything in peace. All creation.
Love, yeah. Peace and love, good day. Peace and love. I wish you peace and love. Peace and love. Yeah. Peace and love, good day. Peace and love. I wish you peace and love.
We do hope that you had a pleasant trip with Tall Black Knight Railway. We have enjoyed having you aboard. It is now safe to depart the train. Please make sure that you have collected all of your items before leaving. Thanks again for riding our Tall Black Dye Railway. This is the conclusion of your trip.
Hello,
Yes.
who
If you
am I?
need to join virtually, you can too.
Oh, no.
You sure?
Yeah. I get a little incense, like, so, oh, look, let me get a call.
Are you sure? Now do what's best for you. I know you're here, but even if you need to, let me know. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the town meeting for Monday, October the 2nd, 2023. We'll begin in just 1 minute. Thank you. Ms. Cooney, do we have a reporter? Well, I'd like to have it just in case they say they can't hear it or there's an issue with the audio. Public here right now after the reports. Do you want to do? You want to do it after legislation? So how about if I just move it to like just after? Yes, after right before the. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to the Town of Forest Heights Council Work Session Meeting. Today's date is Monday, October the 2nd. The time is now 7:34 and this meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Lilly,
Present.
Council President McDonald,
Present.
Councilmember Little. Present. Councilmember Bronson. Here. Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Hines. Present. Councilmember Noble. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we also have Councilmember Kennedy. At this time, may I please have a moment of silence? Thank you. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Just one moment. Give us just a moment. We're going to pause for a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next we will have approval of the consent agenda. I move that we approve tonight's consent agenda.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Next, we will have approval of the main agenda. I move that we amend tonight's main agenda, adding a second public period after the council member and mayor's reports. Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend tonight's main agenda by adding a second public period after council member and mayor's reports. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there
Aye.
any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, I move that we adopt tonight's main agenda as amended.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt tonight's main agenda as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we will have reports. And I am going to Mr. Jones, do we have Mr. Frankenfield online yet? Not yet, okay. I'm gonna move instead to the Department of Public Works. Mr. Belnavis, would you like to give a brief summary of your report for this month, sir? And for council, it's this document here, which I placed on the table for you.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Lily, and Council. On Thursday, October 26, 2023, Choice Concrete went to 106 South Heron after a resident complained about curb in disrepair affecting their mobility. The curb, sidewalk, and was dilapidated and needed serious attention. They removed curb, sidewalk, cut the street to include a gutter pan. The job was completed on Friday, October 27th, 2023.
Mr. Belnavis, is that, I assume you're reading to say September?
That is, yes, sir. I apologize.
No
September.
problem.
My apologies. 1 second, please. So that the job was completed on Friday, September 2023. And the resident has thanked this body for the fast repair. Mr. Kenneth, the homeowner, and his wife expressed their deepest thanks to Mayor and Town Administrator and the Council for such quick response after his conversation with the Council. The department is working to close out and open work orders in the system. That concludes my report for this evening. If there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Belnavis. Are there any questions for the Department of Public Works monthly report for September? Councilmember Brownson.
Yes, I have a question about North Huron as you go around the curve, that plate that's in the street there with that hole. I'm wondering what's going on with that repair.
Do you have an address?
It's, as you turn to North Huron, get ready to go around the curve, there's a big plate there and you had some equipment there for a long time.
Chief Reese, yes, please.
Yes, I think you're speaking of, that's in the middle of the street, ma'am. That is a WSCC. There was a water main break, so they're waiting. It's low on their priority list, so that is a quick fix. So once they have crews to come back out, they're gonna dig it back up, fix the issue, and then repave that area right there. It is on their list though, but we can't reach out to see where it is. Maybe at estimate time.
So it's a big plate there. So whenever cars go over there, I can see some tires getting flat because of that plate. I mean, it's really bad. Is there anything that can be done to?
I can ask them right under the plate. It is a big hole.
Mhm.
So I will see if their engineer can make him come out to see if he can adjust it.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the Department of Public Works report for September? Councilmember Hines.
Good evening. Yes, I just received a phone call this week about on Roth Drive. where in front of a residence that the sidewalk had a hole 10-inch deep, 10-inch wide. And I talked with Public Works and they sent someone out there and they reviewed it. Can you just talk a little bit about that? What happened, what you did? No?
Yes, I can. My apologies. Mr. Watkins brought it to my attention as well. And we went out, we added, I saw the hole and it was really a deep hole. So we filled it with dirt. The issue is that area is constantly going to be washed away. We're going to end up having to put grass or something to keep that dirt in place. So what we did was just filled it for now until we can do something else with it. I think he also adds some grass seeds just to see if we can just keep everything in place.
If I could get Councilmember Hines, just give me a little bit more background on that. You said it was a 10 by 10.
I have pictures of it. And it's like the sidewalk puckled up. I was talking to Councilman Kennedy. Did you get a chance to look at it?
I do not.
Okay. I took some pictures, but it's on the side of the sidewalk, but the sidewalk is puckled up where it's, someone can trip, but also on the side of the dirt, it's like it's been washed away, and it's a complete hole where you could have gotten, if someone didn't know it was there, they could have gotten their foot and it can be really bad. But, Public Works, did fill it. I understand. And but that's still a problem. So just wanted to share it. Thank you.
Mr. Belnavis.
What I'll do is tomorrow, go back to that area and take a look at the area and see if there's something else we can do to remedy that situation.
Councilmember Hines, anything else on that particular issue? You said that was on Rolfe Drive, correct?
Yes, it's in front of 115 Rolfe Drive.
Didn't we just spend a lot of money redoing Rolfe Drive? The town, yeah.
Chief Reese.
So to answer Councilwoman Bronson's question, yes, that is. So before Mr. Dool came on, I was leading Public Works. So the sidewalk is the pervious pavement that we did spend money to put in. There are points along the whole Rolfe Drive where the sidewalk has I guess sunk in. But the problem is that there is not a lot of contractors that is certified to fix pervious pavement. We did have an estimate come out to fix one portion, and it was very extensive for a couple of feet of sidewalk. They wanted to charge roughly about $30,000 because of the pervious pavement portion. It's not a regular sidewalk. We will do that. I know this address. The problem is that some of the pervious pavement, the under has washed away. That's what the contractor did say. But we have to have a special contractor to lift the pervious pavement up, replace it everything under, and then place it back down. And then, but it's multiple points on Rolfe Drive.
So Ms. Chief Reese and Mr. Belnavis, so you've been and visited the situation. Does it present a safety hazard for folks walking by?
At certain points, yes, it does. But as far as the hole that Councilwoman Hines speak of is not actually on the sidewalk. It's actually in the grass portion, like on the curb, in between the sidewalk and the resident's home. But we do need to revisit the actual sidewalk problem. I believe it was I think the company was Scheibel that we did that work on Rough Drive with.
I have another question.
Councilmember Bronson?
Yes, so you saying the pervious pavement is hard to deal with and want contractors. So who made the decision to pave the street with pervious pavement in the first place, if it's so difficult?
Well, that was some administration ago. I don't know the answer to that question.
One question I might pose is, is it worth exploring replacing that area with something that's not pervious pavement, or is that going to be too involved for the size and the scope?
If you will, Mayor, I can send you so you can have in detail exactly what needs to be done. I can send that to the council because the contractor, Mr. Watkins, sent it to me last year. I can get that to you.
Please do.
Yes.
Councilmember Noble.
On that same note, when we're talking about repairing streets, I don't know if we need a checklist or how it works because Creed Drive, at the homes where they disturbed the lawns, no grass has returned. And they did put down some straw or whatever, but no one followed up. So and I know that was previous administration too, but at the same time, I guess we need to get in a habit of, it's got to be truly a checklist to go back, because Creed Drive is just awful. Where, they dug up in the front for the sidewalk, and then it's just dirt there now. It's just like, you can't replace the grass. I guess you could get some sod, but that wasn't the agreement originally.
No, Councilmember Noble, what was the agreement originally?
Well, that they were going to replace the grass. So they did put down some dirt, I guess threw some seeds down, but nothing happened because then they were gone.
Is the land where the grass needs to be replaced, is it on private property or is it on the town's right of way?
Well, it's on private property, but what happened when they were doing the street, they had to get access to private property. So they, allowing them to, get the work done. They sort of destroyed the look of the private property.
Thank you for raising that issue, Councilmember Noble. I know, sometimes in our effort to do good, there's we want to make sure we cover all of our bases and that our good can be well spoken of. So if you wouldn't mind, can you send us a proposed list of some of the things that need to be included maybe in the after action of a street repair project? Because we actually have one going on right now on several streets, and grass is definitely involved. And so maybe we can learn from that lesson and then be prepared for what we'll do in that case. Mr. O'Connor, did you have something to add, sir?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There was one question that you raised about the exploration of whether pervious or impervious surface would be warranted. Pervious surface was actually experimental, and a lot of that came from grant funding. So the reason you're seeing what you're seeing is because it's one of the few times and/or first times in a handful of instances in which the pervious surface was actually used in a sidewalk retrofit program. It is way less expensive to pave with impervious surface and easier to maintain. So if that's something that you wanted to explore, you could do that. The grant term that would have been associated with that particular project was several years ago. So it has thus expired how long it needs to actually be there based on that. Councilmember Noble, to her point, most contractors, when you're doing it, they're required to seed and straw unless there's a scope that is detailed out for sod and or hydro seeding. And the responsibility of the contractor usually ends at the term in which they seed and straw. They don't actually have to make sure that the grass grows from that period forward. I know it seems counterproductive, but that's usually what happens. There should be a final walkthrough on all construction projects in which you make sure that they're seeded and strawed. And what you'll notice is that on the projects that are going on now, you'll see as they're going, they're seeding and they're putting the straw cover, because I want to make sure that the grass is actually growing before they leave. So, and we're in the seeding season right now. So there should be something where if it's seeded out of season, they come back when it's in season. But that is a part of the checklist that we do have, just to ease the councilwoman's mind on that thought process.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. What was that, Councilmember Noble?
I said we did have a walkthrough, but I think like all things, there's no follow-up. So we walked through to point out, you know, those issues or concerns, and that was it.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Noble, for raising it. Mr. Belnavis, you have something to add?
Councilmember, would you have the address to the location?
I'll write them all down for you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belnavis, Councilmember Noble. Any other questions on this report?
Can I just have one more question?
Yes.
About the checklist. I don't know how to word this, and I'm not saying that, you know, who prioritizes what's the worst streets and how we deal with them? I mean, is it something that we vote on, or who decides that? I'm not understanding.
Well, the worst streets for what, Councilmember Hines?
As you know, when we just, you know, yeah, repairs, as far as what street, you know, is more, you know, not more important. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying which one is needed, you know, the most work. I mean, you know.
Sure, absolutely. Mr. O'Connor.
So there's I believe there's a committee that is associated with that, and normally that will fall into the Department of Public Works. Right now, what Mr. Belnavis and I are actively doing is looking at all of the streets, the amount of patching and repair that's been there, and when the last time asphalt overlay was done or milling was done, and trying to compile a full list along with capital improvement projects that can be planned out for a 5 to 10 year plan on maintaining the roadways.
Yeah, so to answer your question, one of the things that is my priority is having a capital improvement plan put together, which assesses the streets and their need and tries to put a schedule together for when those streets will be repaired. It's not complete, but Mr. O'Connor, about how complete is the plan in the initial analysis right now?
Well, we're over 50% from analyzing the roadways and putting the CIP actually together for presentation. Well, I'd say well over 50%.
Okay. And so does that answer your question, Councilmember Hines?
It does, but I'm on that committee, so can I be, you know, let me know when you're meeting, committee meeting. Thank you.
I would also, so let me ask a question on that. I don't know if it's the committee made the most recent decision. However, when's the last time the committee met? It's been quite a while to my knowledge.
I've never met with the committee. Normally it's Department of Public Works that handles that. But I'm not even in the area of, or we are not even the area of prioritizing the roadways. At this point, it's more of gathering, putting the CIPs together, and then the determination comes based on a multitude of factors as to where they would sit in staff's recommendations on paving the road. Then I believe it will go to the committee for final review.
Council member, did you have another question, Councilmember Hines? Councilmember Noble.
Yes, on the I guess preparing a plan for the streets. I know that 20 plus years ago, there was an engineer report that outlined the order that the street should have been done. And Creed Drive was the worst street and it's done 20 years later. So are we using some engineering or is it just what we think or, how we measuring what needs to be fixed and at what rate?
So after staff evaluates the streets based on the deterioration of the actual streets, then it would be up to the mayor and council if they wanted to hire an actual firm and they come in with a nuclear measuring device and check the actual thickness of the roadway and the wear and tear. And then on top of that, the coefficient of friction of the actual roadway, which will tell us whether the vehicles can maintain proper traction on that roadway as well. It's usually every 5 to 10 years, you have the asphalt overlay program. But what I can tell the mayor and council, factually speaking, is looking at Arapahoe Drive and the milling that is going on, previous work that has been done to our roadways has been substandard or subpar. There's several instances where we're milling up dirt or we're milling up less than an inch of overlay that was put onto the actual roadway, which means that's why you see a lot of the sinking holes and other issues that were there. So it's not just a very straightforward approach. We're kind of taking it as we can and go. So the milling crew had to stop today several times because they were pulling up clumps of dirt after they were milling up, in some instances, centimeters of pavement off of Arapahoe Drive. So.
Councilmember Hines, I will say that it's my desire to see a lot of decisions and some proposed legislation get discussed in the committee before it comes to the council in the future. So I believe you sit on that committee, correct?
Yes.
So yeah, I believe you'll be a valuable asset as prioritization happens going forward. And as we are putting the plan together, I know that Mr. O'Connor and Mr. Belnavis know it's my desire to see that plan come together soon. That's one of the main things that I want to deliver in my time in the mayor's seat. And so for administrative staff, that's one of the things I'm constantly talking to them about. So my desire is for the CIP to be a document that helps the committee to make decisions. I haven't decided or engaged the firm as of yet, but if the committee makes a recommendation, that's something I would consider. Also depending on how much it's going to cost and how much we have to spend.
Well, I have a 20-year-old report that I could share.
I think we have some of the Pannoni report from 2011 mentions, well, obviously it's from 2011, but it is a little bit more recent than 2002, maybe. So, all right. So are any other questions on this report? Comments on Public Works? All right, with that, we will move to code enforcement. And I see that Mr. Green's not here, so Chief Reese, if there's questions, can you answer as needed if possible? Do you have a brief understanding of the report for this month so you can give a summary?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I did speak with Mr. Green. He is sorry that he could not be here tonight, but he did want me to emphasize that most of the reports that you see last week on Friday, he had to go to court. So most of these reports are closed as of last Friday. He did also emphasize that we discussed last meeting that we are going to develop a common violation list, and so that the residents can have and see what they have to do to make sure they stay in compliance. We're going to have that on the website. We are due to speak with our webmaster on Wednesday. So you should see some changes on the website as far as code enforcement to see most common issues about violations and some frequently asked questions about obtaining permits. So that's going to be updated on our website. Should be this coming week or next week, depending on the webmaster. So that's this report, sir.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Are there questions for this report?
Yeah.
Councilmember Little.
Good evening. I have a few questions, mostly pertaining to the uncovered mattresses that are left on the curbs. In my street alone, there were 3, and there's one that's been there for 3 weeks. So, how soon after the trash is picked up are citations or something written given to the residents? And like, what's the exact wording? Because sometimes, I know I spoke with Mr. Green, he said that mattresses that are left uncovered are not picked up, but sometimes we need a little bit more clarification, and maybe the wording can be, please wrap your mattresses in plastic before you put them on the curb, because they're not understanding that. And so that's one question.
That is a common thing. That is one of the things that we're going to put on the website. Our contract company, Goody, that they do not take uncovered mattress. So what the resident would do is just leave it out there. So the code enforcement, what we do, we send them a letter. Most of the time, it may be the homeowner, it may be a rental property. So we send a letter to the address. Most of the time what we see, we try to wait for people to get home, and that's most time we have the interaction. Now we do have some people that is just defined, and they would just leave it out there, and then the code enforcement process would just have to go with the enforcement of citations and taking it to court.
So how soon after trash day are the citations sent out to the home?
So most likely it's Mr. Green at least gives them at least 5 days. I know that's but we try to give our residents a little bit of grace. But sometimes we get the not excuses, but we are advised that they don't have the means to pick it up, or where do we get the wrapping paper and things like that. So we try to help them through it. But at all fails, when it has been out there for too long, and it does pose a health risk, we will instruct the public works to pick it up, and then we will fine the homeowner accordingly.
I have one more question. Is it possible to like put the street names on the violations so we could like know where these violations are? Like, I see the street, the uncovered mattresses as a violations listed, but I'm not sure if these are the same ones that I'm seeing or which streets they're on.
So we do, in this report, we do have the ability, most of the time, it will give the actual home address, but we can take out the numbers and put the streets. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief and Councilmember Little. Councilmember Noble.
I just want to piggyback on Councilwoman Little's comment about the uncovered mattress. And because at one time, some time ago, not long, it didn't have to be covered. Now it has to be covered. So I would like to see, my vision is when we see Public Works sees a mattress out there, if we had a memo or something that we could then say it must be covered for pickup, instead of waiting for Mr. Green to give them a citation, because it affects the look of the community. So if we have to wait 5 days, then they have to respond to it, then that's another 10 days. Well, if we just left a little memo, and maybe we could find where you could get some Dollar Tree mattress covers, or it's just a plastic cover that may cost $1 or $2. And maybe that's something we could kind of put in our utility box.
Yeah, I'm gonna third or fourth that. I think if we can help slow the timeline down and shrink it so that we maybe know where the gap is and it's to cover, maybe we can supply some of those and definitely move toward updating folks so they can get it removed immediately. It's kind of the same way we do when there's illegal dumping or something of that nature. So yeah, I want to go to Council President McDonald. I see she has her hand raised.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Ask Chief Reese if the information that he just spoke about regarding code enforcement could there be a page in the newsletter? Because when we had the meet and greet, that was something that was I guess expected or, was helpful rather, let's say, to the residents. And getting the information out in front is, I keep saying, good for our seniors, because we, we have a lot of seniors that they're not paying, some of them not looking at no website. They need the information up front. So if we can put that information on a page or two in the newsletter, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. That's a great suggestion. Well, the newsletter is actually, I believe, the first place or one of the primary places this information is going to go. Code enforcement has submitted I don't want to call it a flyer, but an information sheet about common violations already that I believe is going to be evaluated for inclusion in the newsletter this month. And definitely opening to expanding that and including more places to make folks aware of common issues, common ways to take care of them, and changes to code as they come. Thank you for the suggestion. Are there any other additions or questions?
I have one more follow-up question, Mayor Lily.
Yes, Council President McDonald.
I wanted to get clarity on cars parked in owner driveways with no tags on them. If you're a homeowner and you got cars in your driveway with no tags at all, that's not allowed.
Yes, Council President McDonald, thank you for the question. I'm going to direct that to either to the chief. Would you like to answer that?
Yes, that
Chief
is
Reese?
true. As you can see that in Mr. Green's report, there are a lot of cars that is in violation of that ordinance that are parked on private property with no registration plates.
Did that answer your question, Council President?
Yeah, I know that it's an ordinance. I'm just asking, what do we do about it? Do we just let them stay there? What do we do about it, Chief Reese?
So yes, ma'am. So what we have been doing is we issued the notice of violation. Once we give the homeowner a period of time to rectify the situation. If they do not rectify the situation in a period of time, we will issue a civil citation that Mr. Green issues. We give them a little bit more time. At that time, if they do not pay, it goes to court. During that time, we have to obviously wait for a court date. The state's attorney argues on the town behalf of the violation against the homeowner. And then what we ask the judge is for an abatement. That is for us to basically, in easier terms, gives us the authority to rectify the issue. That is either towing the car out, giving the town the authority to enter the private property and taking the car out or something like that. But that is on his radar. He just went to court. He did receive a lot of abatements this past Friday. But just letting you know that those are a little bit of heightened situations where you're going on private property and you're taking somebody's property. That's when, the police gets involved. We try to give the residents a huge amount of time. I'm just telling you, from the notice of violation until we get the abatement, it's probably already been 4 months. So they had plenty of time to rectify the situation if it's gone that far.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Councilmember Noble.
On that note, and informing residents, I think you have residents who aren't aware of what may occur, because a lot of residents are from the space that is their property. So we have to have a way of informing people, and the newsletter is a good place, the website, but the newsletter, especially because I know myself, there are vehicles that are there because someone has passed away and they have this attachment, but it's up in their driveway. So we just have to notify people because we want to continue to create a sense of community and not a sense of police community, right? Thank you.
Councilmember Little.
I have one more question. I do see that in the violations is one about the high grass. And it's closed. I did see that Quaid and Terrell Street was done, so thank you. But also I had received a complaint about one of my neighbors whose grass has been high for over a month. And I know that a citation is given at first and then another one after 2 weeks. So it's been well over 2 weeks. So like, I want to know what's the status of, finding him.
So it actually goes just like the no tag. So the town can only go into a property such as the Quaid if it's vacant. We don't have to wait for an abatement if it's vacant. We can rectify the issue and then do a lien later. But if the property is occupied, we can only go on the property after a judge has issued an abatement for the property. So we can only fix it once the judge does it. So it's probably a couple of months after the notice of violation.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Brownson.
I was just wondering, don't we have some type of help for people that can't get their grass cut? I know that there's the deeds of kindness or
Small acts of kindness.
acts of kindness. So maybe that person could be referred to that particular incident or, something to help them. Maybe they're in a situation that they need help.
The Small Acts of Kindness program through the Greater Oxon Hill CDC, I believe is a program that's for seniors and yes, I believe it's for seniors. Yes, Councilmember Hines.
Chief Reese, what happens when you know that neighbors are covering up their car with the car cover and they don't have tags, but that's the reason why they have the covers on them? I mean, how do you do you get someone to snitch? What? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying.
So our code enforcement, he has ways to, most of the time, it's really when people have, you can get permission from the neighbor and the neighbor may let you, maybe you can get a vantage point to get the view of maybe the car or something like that. I do have to look at the ordinance a little bit deeper. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe that you can have a car covered, but I believe that the tags must be displayed.
Yes.
Some of the problems we may be having is that some of the car covers, most people think, hey, you can get car covers that actually display the tag. We can also include that in our common violations, maybe a link to if people can get proper covers to stay in compliance. So I will include that also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on code enforcement's report? Okay, moving on to the next one, we will have the ombudsman report. Are there any questions or discussion on the ombudsman report for September? Hearing none. Next, we'll move to the Youth and Community Outreach Bureau. And Mr. Holland, thanks for being here tonight.
Of course.
Can you give a brief summary on the highlights of your report for this month, past month?
I'll try to keep it brief. We kicked off the month with the scheduled youth bike ride, which is the last installment for Council President McDonald. Due to inclement weather, we had to postpone that, but we will be engaging with cyclists for the beginning of the spring season in 2024. I'll be working with Council President to get a date out within the coming months. Forest Heights Day, of course, went off with a festive environment and a festive vibe. We had some cookout food and some live entertainment. We had magicians, we had festival rides and games. We also had a special DJ lineup with DJ Bacon Bear, DJ Oscar, as well as just a mix in between of those. We had some character involvement, Paw Patrol, Mickey Mouse, things like that, that kept the younger kids excited, and that was a pleasure to see. We also were able to roll out our youth registration sign up, which will be present at every event moving forward. We were able to capture 17 parents with a total of 25 kids. That is just going to be a means of communication outside of the newsletter that can communicate up and coming youth engagement programming directly to parents. So there's a QR code that's associated with that link. And we had our first health and wellness session with Council Member Little on Saturday. So thank you, Councilwoman Little, for joining us for that. That was amazing. We had the council member Edward Burrows come through, as well as a host of parents, and Councilwoman Noble also made an appearance. So thank you for that. We would like to have these going on for the duration of the year, maybe once a month. The kids and the parents both enjoyed it. We had parents and kids participating, so that was great. And I met on Saturday with Chris. He's a part of the Peterson Management Group for National Harbor. They reached out with concerns of a rise in youth activity down at the National Harbor and MGM that was proven to be hazardous for not only them, but residents and visitors of the National Harbor and MGM. I am waiting for a report from them on the exact charges that have been placed on some of the juveniles that were there. Some of them include gun charges, drug charges, as well as vandalism of property charges. But we're working with them to try to mitigate the situation. They don't anticipate a rise any further because of the cold weather that's coming, but they would just like to have a plan in place for next year. They're seeing some youth from our area as well as going up to 10. They're finding out that they live in these areas based off of the reports and the information taken from them. So I'll be having more information on that in the coming months to try to get a plan rolled out for that. And then lastly, in other community news, Councilwoman Brownson, Councilwoman Noble, and Mr. Nora of the police department, we've been working collectively to get a senior spa day going for November 20th, I believe. We visited the senior spa day that was taking place, and correct me, Councilwoman Brownson and Noble, if I'm wrong, but I believe it was in Ward 8 in DC with Sean Perry. And we went there to try to see what risks we would be taking as a town to host the senior spa day here. We also have Mr. Perry helping us out with getting our vendors as well as some of the resources as far as social services and things to come out as well that day. We have a draft waiver written up that we're going to get looked at for validity so that we can get that in place to cover any risks that's associated with the senior spa day. And we'll have some of those details coming out within the next few weeks as we're less than 2 months out from that event.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. Are there any questions for the Youth and Community Bureau report for September? There are a lot of positive highlights, and glad that we touched different bases of our community from the older to the younger. And also happy to hear that some of these will be recurring, happening on a regular basis, as that's one of the things I wanted to promote in the town is youth and community engagement. It's one of the top 5 things. So happy to hear that council's involved, and thank you for your work.
We would like for you to come out, Mayor Lilly, to do a little bit of, what is it called? The Sunset Eagle or something like that. I got embarrassed out there trying to do yoga, but it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, I love yoga.
Okay.
I love yoga, and I had to reach out to Councilmember Little as she was spearheading the event. I wanted to be there. I was unable to be there for a family engagement, but I love yoga. I'm so happy it's going on. I will be out there and pretend to be as young as the others who are there. And what is the pose I'm thinking of? Tree pose.
Oh yeah, they did that too.
Tree pose, downward dog.
Yes.
And most importantly, corpse pose at the end.
Thank you.
Did you have something else to add?
That's it.
I see we have Council President McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Holland, for everything that you're doing. I just wanted to give a heads up. The Washington Area Bicyclists Association has reached out to District 8, and Mr. Marcus Jones sent an email, and there'll be some possible opportunities for advocacy, education, and resources. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that from the WABA, Washington Area Bicyclists Association. We can perhaps look at incorporating the schedule that we have coming up with some of the things that they have to offer.
Okay, thank you. I've written that down and I'll connect with offline with TA Jones about trying to get that information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I want to make a piggyback on that, Council President McDonald and Mr. Holland. Every year, the WABA hosts something that's called a Bike to Work Day. I believe it's the third weekend in May. And they have stops that hit a lot of the areas around us. It would be wonderful for Forsyths to be one of the locations that there's a stop for people who are riding in to promote the trails that we have that many people don't know about, and the sideways, the sidewalks, and other areas, because you can ride all the way from Forsyths into downtown Washington, DC. If you go north of South Capitol, you can ride all the way to Alexandria if you go south across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. And so we have plenty of time, and we have the resources coming online with improvements happening to our Oxon Hill Farm and Cove, where the pedestrian bridge should be reconstructed by that time. So thank you, Council President McDonald, for bringing that up. And I see your hand is back up. You have another thing to add?
No,
I just want to make sure.
I'm clapping.
Okay, clapping. So thank you for raising that. Thank you to Mr. Jones, who is now Special Assistant to the Mayor. His role has changed, but he's still advocating for the town, which we appreciate. Thank you for sending that information, and hopefully we'll be able to take advantage for the community. All right, let's move on to the ARPA Project Managers Report for September.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Council. Basically, I did send out a link to the clerk as requested by the mayor and council for the photographs. So I didn't have to try and put them all in the report. So that was sent out to the clerk. I don't know if it was sent out to all of you, but there should be well over 100+ photos in there of all the ongoing projects and where they currently sit. I will say that one of the things that we were able to do is identify several storm drains that were covered up and did not know existed before. So we found that there's been some storm drains that have just had grass growing over them, but through the construction or through trying to mitigate some of the stormwater issues, we have found storm drains, which is great because that means they can be cleaned and help with some of the stormwater management. The projects are moving along very well. We're a month and a half ahead of schedule at this point in time, which is great. The contractors are, they're just, they're trying to stay ahead of it, avoid any bad weather. As you can see, we're milling on Arapahoe Drive, and the milling is going to continue. The road closures and no parking, we've been working diligently with the contractor to try and minimize the impact, if possible, to the residents. They're closing the roads when they ultimately have to. Today, they shut down a good portion of hard closure on Arapahoe Drive because there was traffic coming back and forth while they were milling. One other update that I didn't have in here is with the tree program. I'm hoping that in November I'll be able to bring something to the mayor and council from Prince George's County and Department of the Environment for the tree program, which also includes a possibility for grant funding of up to $10,000 for an existing community garden, which we may be able to bring to the town. I'm working on that currently. The grants we have, we should know in the next 2 weeks whether we were awarded $304,000 under the Safe Neighborhoods program. And in the next 2.5 weeks, another grant that I put in for the police accountability grant with body cameras, about $30,000. We should know whether we awarded that as well. These are fast turnaround grants. The MOU with the State Highway Administration, been working with the mayor and the State Highway Administration. The terms that came back were not the greatest, whereas all of the onus of the work became the towns. So I reached out to them, and now that they got a new director of agreements in place, I had a conversation with them, and I think we're going to be in a place where the MOU consists of the town has the right to go into the right of way, basically, whenever they want to do the work, and the state will continue doing their work. And there won't be any money exchanging hands between the state and the town. It'll just say we have the right to go in there and clean it up if we get a complaint or we want to do it. Once that's completed and through legal, I'll bring it to the mayor and council. Other than that, the only thing I have is, our staff have been out there and the contractors. And unfortunately, fortunately, we've gotten a lot of great compliments on the work to our staff and the appreciate, but there are some negative instances that happen where our staff have been cursed out, screamed at, and likely, and our contractors as well. So the only thing I ask is anybody that's watching is just please be nice. Everybody's trying to do their best. I know that the mayor and council are doing their best.
Yes, we are.
And that's it. I know. So I just ask, please be nice. They're just doing their jobs, and we're trying to get through this as best we can.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. I just want to add one note specifically on that point. In regards to parking, there's a proclamation which talks about streets that will be closed. The closures are intermittent, so we're doing our best to not have a roadway closed indefinitely overnight or for an extended period of time. That means, and I believe this happened last week, Councilmember Hines is a witness. Arapahoe Drive was closed near Livingston Road for a portion, but then when the work was done for the day, in time for the Veterans Roundtable, the roadway was reopened. And so we're trying to, and I've been impressing upon Mr. O'Connor, Mr. Belnavis, Chief Reese, and everyone who's involved, that we want to accommodate our residents as much as possible and inconvenience them as little as possible, even though there will be some inconvenience with the upgrades that we're doing. They've asked us to do them. We need to do them. We're responsible to get them done, but we also are thinking about that first value, right? Community builds strong connections with care, meaning do good work and do it with care. So I want to commend the staff for responding and taking the work on as if you live here. It makes a difference. And we have had some folks who we had a less than positive response from, but we're going to continue to move forward with a posture of care. And to residents who are watching and listening, we do want to receive feedback. We know we don't always get it right. We just ask that feedback that comes is respectful so that we can listen and we can hear and we can take action, positive action on and learn lessons if we've made a mistake. And with that, are there any questions for the ARPA project manager's report from council? Councilmember Hines.
Can I understand the community garden? What is going on over there? And why does it look like that?
The community gathering place or the garden?
The garden.
So the town staff has no further involvement in the community garden. We did our construction, we ran the lines in. DPW went in there and did a certain amount of work, but other than that, there's no further work that is planned for the community garden. If there's need for assistance over there, please let us know, and we can try and figure out what may or may not need to be done. But I don't know what would need to be done.
Well, let me add there, Mr. O'Connor, that so I won't say that there's nothing staff will be doing. I will say that at this time, Public Works for a time has been down 2 employees. We've recently hired a person who is helping us as a full-time employee. So there will be a possibility for us to help to beautify. And I've had some conversations with the volunteers who work at the community garden, but there haven't been as involved recently because there have been higher priority items that needed immediate need and immediate care, but we haven't forgotten about the garden. And so I just want to reassure you that, Councilmember Hines, we haven't forgotten about it. And I've talked recently with volunteers about some of the things that we can do to prepare for the next growing season and to make sure that it reflects the care that those who use the garden take, and also that it invites other residents who want to come take part.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, to clarify my statement.
No, it's okay, Mr. O'Connor, it's fine.
Okay,
It's
it was
fine.
just projects.
It's
That's-
fine.
Okay, all right.
Council member Kennedy, I haven't said your name in a while.
Trying to stay quiet. No, I just wanted to remind everyone that it took a lot of work for the garden to become what it was. So the reason why it does look like that obviously is because they were the volunteers that took care of it, that turned it into an actual garden. We're told to stay out until the water project was done. So that's why it looks that way. So, you know, when we do, I guess, get around to needing volunteers, I hope people will step up to help, because all of us are getting older.
I second that, Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Noble.
And on that note, Councilwoman Brownson and I talked about reaching out to the local, I think with the mayor too, the local elementary schools to see if maybe they could have a plot and see how things grow. And, you know, we have the experts there that can teach them. And also Dementia Friendly, that group, if they could have a plot. So just truly make a community, how to grow veggies, take them home, eat them, and live off the land.
I can help with the eat part. Councilmember Brownson.
Oh, I thought that part of the, the community garden project was to put up a fence and expand the gate. I mean, we
That was a
talked about-
proposal, but I think that proposal, I ultimately decided not to move forward with that.
Oh,
There was a large cost associated about,
okay.
if I don't even want to recall, $30,000. And after consulting with some of the people who work at the community garden, it was determined it wasn't needed. And actually, some of the elements of the fence would have blocked the sunlight at different parts of the day. So
Okay.
we were actually able to not spend money on that part of it. And I think everyone's been happy about that.
Well, I do know that there is you can get a grant for this, the community grants. So there, if someone write grants, AARP does great grants for community gardens.
Okay.
So that's a possibility if you want to do some more work in the garden.
Is this the ARP grant where you propose the changes you would make in the NA? Okay, thank you, Councilmember Brownson. If you have information, I think you may have sent it in the past. Please do. Council President McDonald.
Okay, forgive me. So I thought that was an item in the agenda, that fencing for the community garden. So you're saying, Mayor Lilly, that it was never talked about, or we just decided not to move forward at all?
That's correct. Yeah, it was brought up for discussion, and after further conference, I decided not to move forward with that project or that portion of the project. Council Member Kennedy.
So yes, that entire project was actually tabled indefinitely. The main two volunteers that take care of the garden, we reached out to them and they stated that the fencing was perfectly fine. It was not shaky. It did not have damage to it. And also making a smaller door where they cannot back into would not have been the best choice. So didn't make sense to replace something that was perfectly fine.
Thank you, Council Member Kennedy. Any other questions for the ARPA Project Manager report? Hearing none, we'll move to the next report. The Police Department. Chief, do you have any highlights, brief highlights, or to give on your report for this month?
Not actually on the report. I do want to emphasize, I'm trying to piggyback off of what Mr. O'Connor. I do want to emphasize that we may need to get an agreement with State Highway to make sure that we stay in compliance with our speed camera program. As far as us not blocking signage and everything like that, that is part of our permit. I have reached out to State Highway countless times. They only come down here doing their scheduled maintenance, but during the growing seasons, we sometimes are not in compliance because sometimes we don't have the ability to go out there and cut the signage back so that the signs are properly identified. But I do want to probably encourage an agreement with State Highway. The next thing I have is I'll be going with the Department of Juvenile Justice to testify for them to increase their, I guess, their involvement in juvenile cases. We are seeing an uptick in juvenile cases where juveniles are being let back out for serious Part 1 crimes, such as armed carjackings. We recently just had a vehicle stolen by a student that goes to one of our schools. But they're let back out. And so I'll be going to testify for that. The police department will be participating in the Office of the State's Attorney's Purple Bike Ride to raise awareness for domestic violence. That will be October 7th at 8 a.m. And then obviously the thing that is one of our officers, Officer McLeave, he just was he's certified for the drug abuse resistant education. We want to bring awareness for the DARE program. He is certified. I'm not sure if you're following that. Thus far of the school year, they have already had overdoses in our schools for drugs. So we want to make sure that we are in our schools. We're in our schools every day, but we just want to make sure that we bring awareness to it. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Are there any questions for the police department report for September? Okay, hearing none. We will move to, just one moment.
Excuse me, Mayor Lilly.
Mr. Belnavis?
I would like to return back to Mr. O'Connor. The DPW started cleaning the garden today, and they
Okay.
will be completed tomorrow. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the update.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate that. Is that a comprehensive cleaning? Is that just kind of what you all have done entails? I'm just curious. You got a quick move on me there.
Yes, sir. We went in, well, we had a little time, of course, we were moving and just was busy. So today was the day that after they set up, Mr. Watkins and the crew went in and started cleaning one side. I guess they did the right side, and they're gonna come back tomorrow morning and complete the other side of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Positive update. We appreciate it. Alrighty. We don't have a town administrator report for this month. So next we will move into, and actually, one other item, I'm sorry. We have the town treasurer's report. The treasurer's not, reached out, is not able to get online today. But are there any questions for the town treasurer's report for this month?
I was trying to figure out what the red mean and
I can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Since he's not here, do you want us to still ask the question?
We can, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the same thing you are.
I can save it until he's present.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the treasurer's report for this month? And also, we're more than welcome to email the question as well, and bring back the resolution to the public when we have it. Okay, hearing none, we will now move into public period. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who signed up to speak, Madam Clerk? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak at this time? You can come forward. You will have 2 minutes, and if you could please state your name and the street that you live on.
Quincy Hines, Onondaga, the best ward in the city, Ward 3. I would just like to thank everyone who helped me with the Veterans Roundtable. It was a success in the sense that we actually planted something. And it's evident by the people who attended that, there's a need to help veterans in any way we can. But I want to especially thank the mayor for giving me or allowing me to do what I needed to do. I told them a round table, they gave me a round table, they gave me everything I asked for. And I would like to publicly thank Ms. Hines for organizing her team to do all the food. The only thing I had to do was put my plate there and pick it up. But I thank you, everyone. And that's just the beginning. And I would hope that maybe the council could consider a budget for the veterans next year. It's worth it. Those guys gave a lot. I'm not saying that I did, because when I was in there, to be honest, I was like, no, I just want to do this and get it over with. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Appreciate yourself and the Veterans Commission for getting together for that event. Appreciate Councilmember Hines for being there and those people who came out. And yeah, we look to expand involvement for our veterans beyond Veterans Day and holidays. It's something that your experience stays with you for 365 days a year. And so happy to kick off the first event where veterans got together to talk. And to those who are watching either at home or later, you missed out the first one, that's okay. We'll have other events, and it's an informal event. It's really for veterans to gather and talk about the good and the bad and get help for good and bad. If there's questions, resources needed, that's something we want to offer to you as a part of the community. Councilmember Brownson.
On that note, do we have something planned for Veterans Day that's coming up in 5 weeks from now? Do we have a special program planned?
We're going to have something for Veterans Day coming up on the annual calendar. We actually, we marked it off because I think that was initially a date that was being floated for Senior Spa Day. So
No, we didn't.
Okay. But yes, we'll have an event for Veterans Day. Yes, thank you for asking. All right. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak during public period this evening? If so, please raise your hand or send a message in chat. Okay, well, seeing and hearing none, we will next move into legislation. And this evening, we have resolution 73-23, which is a resolution to adopt a credit card policy for the town of Forest Heights, Maryland. I actually might propose an amendment to the agenda where we can consider emergency ordinance 0523 first. Being as though emergency ordinance 0523 contains proposed changes to the code, I move that we amend tonight's agenda to consider emergency ordinance 05-23 before resolution 7323.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we move emergency ordinance, we amend tonight's agenda to move emergency ordinance 05-23 in front of resolution 7323. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Emergency ordinance 05-23 is an emergency ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, amending section 20.4 of the town code regarding credit card purchases, introduced by myself, Mayor Lilly. This is an ordinance that was presented to council at our last meeting on September 20th. And we made several amendments during that meeting to strike the holding of checks in the police department and moving that to the treasurer's office. And so this ordinance includes those amendments and changes. And upon considering, or if we approve this ordinance, it would allow us to then enact the proposed credit card policy, which you've also seen and which is later on in the agenda tonight. And the general purpose of this ordinance is to update the way that these items are kept and stored and to bring compliance between the ordinance and the other credit card policy that I'd like for us to consider introducing. I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. I move that we adopt emergency ordinance 05-23. It has been moved and seconded that we adopt emergency ordinance 05-23. Discussion. Councilmember Noble.
I had, the question is, I know I'm going back to the resolution as well, credit card back and forth. But do we have revolving credit as well? I know it states this TD and some other card, but are there any other types of credit that not council, I guess mayor and employees have access to other than the credit card, like Staples, Home Depot? I don't know.
To my knowledge, the Staples account has been closed. Is Mr. Jones nearby? He's downstairs. To my knowledge, Staples is not an account that we currently have.
Staples use Citibank. Citibank dropped Staples contract, so that account was closed. The only other revolving accounts we have are Home Depot. That's primarily used by Public Works.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble. Are there any other questions on emergency ordinance 05-23? All right, well, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please. Yes, Councilmember Kennedy. I didn't see Council President.
You said this is about the credit card?
This ordinance was amended striking credit cards from this section, since there'll be a credit card policy considered by council later.
I was just making sure because everything here says check.
Yes.
Making sure I didn't miss anything.
All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. And this is for emergency ordinance 05-23.
Mayor Lilly,
Yes.
Council President McDonald. Council President McDonald,
Yes, Lisa.
Was that a yes, Council President? I'm sorry, we didn't hear that clearly. My
Yeah.
apologies.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Bronson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, next we will have Resolution 73-23. Resolution 73-23 is a resolution to adopt a credit card policy for the town of Forest Heights, Maryland. This is introduced by myself, Mayor Lilly. I move that we adopt Resolution 73-23.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 73-23. Discussion. Councilmember Noble.
Yes, just with the issue of the credit card and its limits. For, I guess, Public Works, and I'm just thinking about Home Depot. How are we wrapping that dollar amount into this limit? And is that tied to the, is it divvy to the?
Home Depot is not tied to Divvy. Divvy is an independent set of cards and accounts, so it's not tied in.
Mhm. But can it be or no? Or it's just a financial institution?
It's a financial platform which also issues cards, and it provides a software to manage and track, and also the card and the credit line itself. So it's, to my knowledge, it's not possible to wrap Home Depot into Divvy. So to answer your question, it's different. It's a store card versus a credit card. It is still an encumbrance. I might need to let me go to Mr. Best. Did you have any advice or counsel on this specific issue? If we adopt a credit card policy for cards that are to be used anywhere or at multiple vendors versus one that is for a single vendor, how could we address that with?
Yeah, I would say anything that approaches a credit card or puts an obligation on the town or a credit, or it should be mentioned in the I wasn't aware that you had anything other than credit cards, whether it be Home Depot or any other Office Depot. But that's something you might want to consider putting in this policy.
Okay.
Mr. O'Connor seems to indicate, Mr. Mayor, that on page 2, the bullets under department/position issued a town credit card and limits on page, the second unnumbered page of the policy dated 8/24/23, that the 5th bullet could state Public Works, Home Depot, $5,000. You can do that amendment now, and
I just want to verify that that's the limit. How do we know that?
So with that, I guess,
Can I get a recent, if I could look at a recent statement that has that amount on there, that would make me feel comfortable with amending and passing it.
question.
Councilmember Noble.
And with that in mind, and I'm just gonna assume that the 3,000 is correct. So are we going to, is that 3,000 part of this 5,000?
Can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is the 3,000 going to be part of the 5,000, or are those two different access to credit?
It would be two different ones, but I'm wondering if we can, if there's a benefit to the Home Depot card versus other cards, or if we can just close that card and let this one. Mr. Jones.
The town actually receives, I'm sorry, I hear myself in my ear. The town actually receives purchase incentives for using the Home Depot card. So when we spend, say we have to spend $1,000 on something, we get between $50 and $100 in credits back to use for something else. Additionally, because they're required to enter a purchase order number for every purchase at Home Depot, we're able to categorize it in the background, and we pay our bills, surprisingly, Home Depot early, and they give us an additional incentive for paying it off early versus if it's on our Divvy card, we lose the cash back incentive and we lose the early payment reward as well. So.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Councilmember Kennedy.
Can I make a suggestion? This is the first time the town is proposed to have this many cards. That was something.
Right now we have the same number.
Do we? Okay. What about possibly making all of these the same dollar amount and then add in, I guess, another line strictly for the Home Depot card?
Well, I think we were just proposing something like that. However, I think maybe what we could do is we could decrease the amount for the Public Works card, the general card to 2,000 and then leave the Home Depot card at 3,000.
So there's a caveat. They use a store card for Home Depot, but that is not necessarily their primary card. So I would not recommend looking at their purchase history over the last couple of years. I would not recommend taking your general credit limit and decreasing that for Home Depot because you can't buy everything at Home Depot. So they only go to that store for screws, bolts, paint, little odds and ends every day that they don't keep in the maintenance garage. So I would not recommend adjusting the primary credit limit for the Department of Public Works Director.
Councilmember Kennedy.
No, what I was suggesting is there's two different totals here. So make all of these the same limit and then add another line item or line strictly for that Home Depot credit card with that limit on it.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Is the Home Depot card for Public Works only?
No, the only two people who, Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Okay, let me ask a different question. The Home Depot card is $3,000 and it's not a Public Works card.
It's a town card.
It's a town card. Okay.
Yes.
So it's just simply Home Depot
Yes,
underneath.
The town has a credit at Home Depot.
Okay. That makes more sense. Okay.
Question.
Councilmember Noble.
Since it's a town card, and that's specifically for Public Works, it could go under general government. Because I don't know who holds the card, but I think that's irrelevant, but it's a town card. So maybe that's for the general government to fall under that as well. The Home Depot.
Okay, it could be under Home Depot and then it would be under the future town administrator to turn in the receipts or be the last person to be the gate holder or the gatekeeper on that particular card. Okay. All right, well, we don't have a motion on the floor, do we? No. So we have a motion to adopt, but I want to make a motion to amend. Do you have a question, Councilmember Kennedy?
I think I stated it twice and I don't know if people didn't hear me, they didn't understand what I was saying, or y'all are just ignoring me. The question is, I'm just gonna say it, why does the mayor limit on the card higher than everybody else's? I'm just curious.
In the case of an emergency purchase, potentially.
Like,
Well, so if there's an emergency, the mayor can spend a certain amount of money in an exigent situation and then let council know after the fact. So it's slightly higher in the case that that happens. So that was the reason why it was made higher. But you're saying, I think maybe we didn't understand because I didn't know what dollar amount you're talking about changing. Did you want to maybe specify the change you were talking about making a little more?
well, I would just put all of them the same amount, and then I would just add another one for the Home Depot credit card. So that way, because let's say an emergency arises, town administrator, you're not here, town administrator needs to purchase something, then it's not tied up, you know. Home Depot card already has this much on it, so they have this much balance left. So, and I mean, if that's the case, we would still be basically slightly under the original credit limit that the town would have anyway.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
I mean, obviously, we can change this down the road if we need to, but to start, you know, I would propose just making all of them the same dollar amount and then add in a fifth one for the Home Depot line of credit.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So I just have a question now on that. Is it that we just need to change the credit card policy to reflect the amount of credit that we actually have? Because there's a section on the first page where it talks about how much that we have altogether, which I believe it states is $50,000. This is with Divvy, TD Bank authorized on the 10,000, Divvy with 50,000. Can we insert there that we have Home Depot at 5,000 or 3,000? Let's see. This federal code is a bunch of products information that are required to be found from a bank. Anytime they credit puts some things in it.
Just another quick question on the background, because it said the target date for closing the TD Bank credit card account is October 1. So since that has passed, has that occurred or no?
No,
Okay.
it has not. Waiting for council to consider this resolution before doing that. And also we considered emergency ordinance 0523 to allow us to do this. So no, has not happened yet.
Okay.
So you're looking at background, correct?
Yes.
So according to this, we plan on closing the TD Bank account line of credit,
Yes.
then it has no bearing on the numbers we're talking about in the beginning. This is just saying Divvy is giving us a line of credit over a set amount. So this has no bearing on the credit amount on the cards that we were just talking about. Because if you add up the 4 cards, that's definitely a lot less than this amount.
Yeah, we're not using the full amount. Or we haven't authorized or not giving authorization to the full amounts to each person. Mr. Jones?
Okay, so the total amount of credit that was awarded to the town by Divvy was $50,000. The reason that the mayor's credit limit was set at 10 is because the town code allows the mayor to make a emergency procurement up to $10,000 with the verbal approval of 2 other council members, I believe it reads, without us having to track down the treasurer, we've gone through this before. We had to track down the treasurer, try to get the credit limit increased with the current vendor, and it doesn't work. The reason that the town administrator, the police chief, and the Department of Head for Public Works are capped at the $5,000 is because of the purchase policy. Anything over $5,000 requires council approval through resolution. So to ensure that people don't violate that rule, you lock the credit card at $5,000, and we know that we won't have misappropriation essentially of funds for those expenditures. The additional credit that's not being used, it lives there. We should not turn that back into divvy, because as we saw during COVID, when we went to buy $30-something thousand in tests and needed a credit card, it was a nightmare because we had to keep paying a credit card every day, go and buy it. If we had that credit available, the treasurer has the ability to up one of these users' credit limit, allow us to make that large purchase, and then lower it back down to the set amount. I hope that explains it a little bit more. And I would say where it says under department and positions issued a town card and limit, I would probably go with the mayor's recommendation of sticking the Home Depot card in the background information that just says what these credit lines are and what the encumbrance is for the town. Only because the Home Depot card currently, 3 people had them. They all share the same $3,000 limit. Police chief, Department of Public Works, town administrator. So in order to put that under the department and positions issue town credit cards, we would have to list it for everybody, but they're co-sharing the same $3,000. So it doesn't make sense. I would put it under background. That's just my recommendation. You don't have to go with it, but I would put under background Home Depot, $3,000. And the same 3 people that share that limit right now can continue the way that they've been doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
I have a question.
Councilmember Brownson.
It was about his explanation about the treasurer can up the limit without any approval.
He could up the limit with approval if there was approval to do so. So like, for example, if we were going to buy something in Public Works, like say we're going to buy $10,000 worth of trees and there was a resolution that was passed prior to.
Okay, so the treasurer will not have the authority to up any of these department heads' limits without approval. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't think that he'll want to be doing that either. So we, I think, have a solution for adding a line and then adding this card in the exhibit and the policy itself, which is attached. So I move that we amend the credit card policy changing the modified date to 10/2/23. At the top of the form where it says credit card policy, under background, inserting a new sentence that says, inserting a new words after 50,000 that say, and Home Depot $3,000. And then on the second page of the policy, under departments/positions issued a town credit card and limits, under Public Works, adding a 5th bullet point that says, General Government Home Depot, $3,000. Madam Clerk, you have the changes. Is there a second? I move that we amend Resolution 73-23, changing the credit card policy's modified date to 10/2/23. Under background, inserting the words after 50,000 in the first sentence, inserting the words and Home Depot 3,000, and then under departments issued, adding a fifth bullet point that says Home Depot, $3,000. General Government, Home Depot, $3,000. Is there a second?
That's second.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend Resolution 73-23, the credit card policy, changing the modified date to 10/2/23, inserting the words under background in the first sentence at the end of 50,000 and Home Depot 3,000. And then on the second page under departments issued, adding a fifth bullet point, inserting General Government Home Depot 3,000. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The ayes have it. I move that we adopt Resolution 73-23 as amended.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 73-23 as amended. Is there any further discussion?
I do have a quick question.
Councilmember Little,
Should the closing date for TD Bank be changed from October 1st? He said this. Oh,
well, it says the target date, so it's flexible. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Abstain.
Councilmember Little,
yes.
Councilmember Bronson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
6 yeses, 1 abstain, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, next we will have Resolution 82-23. And this is a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, accepting the resignation of Mrs. Shirley Hawkins from the office of town clerk. I move that we adopt Resolution 82-23. Is there a second?
Can we table this?
Okay. Withdrawn. I move that we table Resolution 82-23. One moment. Withdrawn. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I move that we I move that we amend resolution 8223. Striking the second whereas in its entirety. And this is simply removing a date of appointment, which I believe which is obviously not the correct date. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend resolution 8223, striking the second whereas in its entirety. Okay, discussion.
Yes, is there a plan in place for transitioning not to leave the town in a,
Yes.
prior to this date?
Yes,
End date.
yes, part of the reason why we're considering Mrs. Hawkins' resignation letter is because she has served the town for a very long time. She has an immense amount of institutional knowledge, and we would like to have an overlap period, an extensive overlap period whereby whoever's chosen as the new clerk by the council will be able to grasp that information and do a complete handover of information, learn how the town works, how the town keeps records, and all of those elements. So yes, and by considering the resignation letter now, we also will be able to start advertising to consider candidates to get someone in here sooner than later. Councilmember Hines.
Okay, my question is, you're saying, whereas this is effective December 31st, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you're saying in between now and December 31st, we're gonna hire a clerk, a town clerk? Where is that money coming from? I mean, or am I understanding that, the clerk, Miss Shalita Hawkins, is gonna, transition the person that we hire in that, that time period? This person isn't gonna come to us already certified or knowing, I understand that you want, our clerk to maybe help, not even help, but to understand the process of, the town, how it's ran. But you're saying our clerk is supposed to transition the new clerk as though Ms. Hawkins is going to be teaching her or training her, or?
Ms. Hawkins is going to be providing transition assistance. Ms. Hawkins has her CMC. She's a certified municipal clerk, and we'll be looking for someone with similar credentials. And I don't believe that we're going to have someone in here tomorrow. This is simply to give us time. And then also Ms. Hawkins has indicated that this is a time that she would like to transition from being a full-time resident in Forest Heights to from being a full-time employee of Forest Heights to being a resident. So we're working with multiple pieces here. Mrs. Hawkins' desire, and then also the desire of the council and myself to have someone in place, but to give us time to do that. I don't anticipate we're going to have a large overlap here where there's two people, like, for 3 months, we have a clerk and Ms. Hawkins at the same time. But I do think the council would agree that some overlap period is going to be helpful. Are there, Councilmember Noble?
Also, I guess you can look out for the Municipal Clerks Association for even if by chance no one comes by December 31st, that they have, not that they volunteer, but other clerks, certified clerks come, they take the minutes, they do all those functions that we may need as well.
That's a great suggestion, Councilmember Noble. So we'll have that on the table. Not only if we get to December 31st, but considering before then as well. Councilmember Hines, do you have any other questions or comments on the resolution?
No.
Is there any further discussion, Council? I didn't see her hand up. Okay. All right. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Bronson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Abstain.
Councilmember Hines,
No.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Lily,
Yes.
5 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstain. Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I just want to add to Ms. Hawkins that we thank you for your service, and you've been here a long time and taken the town through many changes, long period of time, and we really appreciate that. And we also mostly love that you will remain a resident of the town, and I'm sure a super volunteer and an integral part of our community. And it is not a vote, I think, that the council casts lightly. It is one that has seriousness and serious weight to it. And we thank you for your service. And we wish you the best at the close of your employment at the end of the year with the town. Okay, next we will move into council member and ward reports. And first, we will start with Ward 1. And I'll go with Council President McDonald since you were online.
I only have 2 things. One is, I am going to MML on October this 15th. And I also will be participating in the domestic violence ride with State's Attorney Aisha Brayboard. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Councilmember Little.
No reports. Oh, well, yeah.
Not even your yoga event?
I can discuss my yoga event. It was very successful. Thank you, Mr. Holland, for everything you did. I really appreciate Council Member Barrows coming out and showing his support. Sorry you couldn't make it, Mr. Mayor, but you'll be at our next one. I definitely look forward to doing more youth events. We had a great turnout. It was many more people than we expected. So thanks to everyone that was involved.
Thank you, Councilmember Little. Next, we'll go ahead. Go ahead.
I would like to thank Abundant Life for allowing us to use their facility for this event as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Little. This time we'll go to Ward 2, and I'll begin with Councilmember Bronson.
I think the only thing I have is that in the park at North Huron, they took down the playground today. All the equipment is gone, and they left a muddy mess. It's so, I know, I saw the kids playing in the mud after they came from school. So I was just wondering, I don't know what can be done about that, but hopefully it's not gonna rain anytime soon, so it'll be fine. But they are redoing the playground down there, so we're moving forward with that. That's my report.
That's great. And there's a specific young lady who was here at the open mic and also at Forest Heights Day. Wow, and I can't remember her name at the moment, but she had a lot of influence. She was trying to collect votes. No, it's another name. I really apologize. I remember her brother's name is Ivan. I can't remember her name right now. But anyway, I'm glad to hear that the playground is down. It's hopefully briefly before they construct the new one with resident feedback, which is good. So looking forward to that. Councilmember Kennedy.
I'm just piggybacking on something that was said earlier insofar as with these projects that are going on. Change is inevitable. Most change are good, but it's how we look at it a lot of times also and how we handle things. So I'm just asking everybody in town who, basically everyone in town, to just have a little bit of patience. If you have a comment, suggestion, you can reach out to anyone. You don't necessarily have to reach out to your ward representative, to the mayor, to any of, the employees of the town. You can reach out to anyone. Like I said, just have some patience and come out and volunteer, be part of the community, and have your voice heard.
Great comments, Mr. Kennedy. I have to echo and second that. We do want to hear from residents, and we like to take constructive criticism. We take all kinds, right? We don't bar any conversation, but we can take constructive criticism and turn it into an actionable change. And I will tell you from my conversations just this week alone that the staff, when they hear a constructive way to make something better for residents, they will try. And in many cases, they will respond the same day as you heard from Public Works to our project manager managing the road closures to move swiftly to accommodate. Now, we can't do everything, but we will listen and we will try if we're given constructive feedback and we can have a respectful back and forth. With that, we'll move to Ward 3, Councilmember Hines.
I first just want to say thank you to Mr. Hines for doing the roundtable, the Veterans Roundtable. It was very successful. You put a lot into it. I thank you so much. Continue doing what you do. Thank you. Also to the mayor, I just want to let everyone know and give him a shout out also, because I made a suggestion or I made a comment and I didn't, maybe say it, I hope I said it positive, but he made it happen. And I want to thank you for that. And thank you for coming. Also, I just want to say that I spoke a little bit too fast about the carnival that, goes on every year for the children. And it is back on, everyone. So look forward to it. And so that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Councilmember Noble.
Yes, just a couple of things. The bus stop on 210, there's a bag for trash, but I don't know if we need to coordinate with WMATA to see if we can get a trash can there, because it doesn't look nice. So the bag fills up quickly, but it's just a bag of trash sitting at the bus stop where people sit. And I want to thank the Public Works Department. They've been very responsive and the residents appreciate their immediate response to their needs. And also the code enforcement as well. So We had some calls, code enforcement. They worked through it, and I think part of the problem is that the citation is sent certified. So the person who works has to go to the post office when it's open. And by the time they respond, it may be past the date. So we need to work on that. And the last thing, just in Gerard Hewitt of Desserts by Gerard, he passed away. And he would always donate. He was just a community person. He was a White House baker.
Wow.
So pastry chef. And he passed away. And so the community, has a loss right now. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble. Wow. Yeah, we had that Gerard's name was, I heard, floating all around the DC area, not just in Oxon Hill, Fort Washington. So wow.
There's a fund for the employees. So I don't think, because they were in the process of trying to sell it, but they needed a pastry chef. So, and he had open heart surgery and complications.
Thank you for sharing. Community will definitely miss him. Oh, Councilmember Noble, you've been requested to talk about your event.
Oh, dementia friendly. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Well, this Saturday we had planned for the training of the council, but we didn't do a outreach. So we may have to reschedule it. And maybe we could do it like before a town meeting, an hour before, because it's just an hour. So I'll talk to Dr. Walton and see if she can make that happen. Okay, thank you for the reminder. But we do have a meeting the second Wednesday on Zoom at 6:30. Thank you.
Very well. Council President McDonald.
I just wanted to ask if we could care to give a some type of card of condolence to Gerard's Desserts, since they were very I guess charitable in their giving when it came to donations and stuff to the town.
Yes, absolutely. Letter of condolence proclamation or a letter from council. Absolutely. And it was a suggestion that I had taken already. So you're the second and now or third or fourth person to say that. I definitely believe it's in the right spirit to do so, and I plan to. Thank you, Council President McDonald. Well, at this time, I just want to thank council for all of their activities. We've been busy since our last meeting. A lot of work going on in the community, which is exactly what we're about, from the youth to seniors and everyone in between. As you can see, council has their eyes all over the community, from the streets to the playgrounds to the gardens to the town hall and everything in between. That's a very, very positive sign. So I would applaud the council and ask you to continue doing what you're doing. On a more personal note, since our last meeting on September 29th, I celebrated or marked 100 days as your mayor. And it has been one of the most rewarding and humbling experiences of my entire life. In June, I was sworn in and I promised to move Foresights forward and begin implementing the 5-point plan that I discussed, which addresses what I believe are our community's biggest challenges and opportunities. And so I just want to briefly talk about some of the things that we've been able to get done in just a little more than 90 days, a little more than 3 months. We completed the sinkhole repairs at Seneca Drive. We began 5 street repair and stormwater and pedestrian improvement projects around this town, 5. As Mr. O'Connor said, many of those are currently ahead of schedule. I hope that they continue to be ahead of schedule. And it includes streets like Arapahoe Drive, Seneca Drive, Delaware Drive, Modoc Lane, Shawnee Drive, and Alden Way, often forgotten about street in the town. We have onboarded a financial firm to help improve the town's financial reporting and audits. Council completed board docs, so in the future, the packets and the information we discussed and the business that comes before the council will be very easily accessible for residents and for the public and for the council to move more efficiently, which is part of our digital transformation promise. I could list endless things as far as community and youth engagement go, but just some highlights. PAL Summer Youth Camp, Veterans Roundtable event for service members, open mic on the last Thursday nights in Forest Heights, which will be returning, and then our successful Forest Heights Day Community Fest. On the beautification front, done beautification of the gathering space, enhancements to the Forest Heights Veterans Memorial. We completed an annexation of Forest Heights Park. And as far as planning for the future goes, last month we hosted a walking site visit of Forest Heights with our District 26 state legislators, where we got to show them some of our stormwater and infrastructure challenges and also some of the other projects that we have underway. And so we've learned a lot of lessons in our first 100 days, but it's just a start. The accomplishments that we're going to be remembered for and that we'll celebrate together are going to come in the months and years. It's a long-term plan. I'm here for the long term, and I ultimately want to deliver a strategic plan that is a vision and a roadmap for how we can continue to move Forest Heights forward in the years and hopefully decade to come. And with that, I just want to thank the residents for trusting me. I want to thank the staff for working with me and for, the council for being eyes and ears where I am not, and being in touch with residents and advocating each day, each meeting on their behalf. And so I won't belabor the point. I think all the other items that have been covered over the last month, council members have covered. So with that, I will close out my mayor's report. I just want to highlight a couple dates really quickly. Since we've got an annual calendar, we can look at what's upcoming and make sure that we've got everything on the map. I believe Forest Heights Police Department has several events coming up this week. There is a Forest Heights Police Faith in Blue ceremony, Chief Reese, still happening on Sunday. On Sunday, October the 8th, Forest Heights Police will have a Faith in Blue ceremony at St. Mark's AME Church, which is in Forest Heights, next door to Henry's Soul Food or Henry's Soul Cafe. That'll be at 11 a.m. Did you have coffee with the cop on Monday? That's on the 4th. That's in 2 days. In 2 days, on Wednesday, October the 4th at 8 a.m. for those of you who will be up and out. Coffee with the cop will occur at McDonald's at 8 a.m. and that's McDonald's right here at Livingston Road and Arapahoe Drive. So those are events that are coming up before our next meeting. Please take part if you can. And I'm going to be stopping by coffee with the cop at 8 a.m. So I'll see those of you there who decide to join us. All right, with that, I'll conclude reports and we will move into new business or public period. There's a second public period for my amendment. Council President McDonald, do you have a comment?
One comment, did I hear council member Hines say that the event in October is back on?
What is the date for that?
Right, that's what I was trying to bring up. So
I believe it's October 28th, one day.
Is
trunk or treat, treat.
Saturday, the 28th.
Yes, Saturday, the 28th. Flyers will be, distributed, yes, yeah. And,
What time?
do we have a time, Chief Reese? No?
On my calendar, it says 6 p.m.
No,
That's
for the carnival? Okay,
Well, it sounds like we may need to iron out some of the details.
yes, sir. Sorry.
So let me just simply say, on the 28th, block your calendar off all day, all afternoon for 4 sites. There's going to be the trunk or treat, and then there's going to be the carnival portion, which I think is historically been known as the Harvest Fest. So there'll be Harvest Fest in the early afternoon, and then as we transition in the twilight and the ghouls and goblins come out, it'll be trick or treat. So we'll get a flyer out with the information and the exact times. There's a bunch of other events that are going on between now and then. However, we will have these in our newsletter, and I won't belabor the point tonight. All right. We amended the agenda for tonight. We have a second public period at this time. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak during public period, or anyone online who would like to speak? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Second public period is now closed. Next, we will have new business. Is there any new business?
I would like to say something about new business. So I have been talking with, some of the council people.
Is your mic on?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
I have been talking to some of the council people since we got the committee assignments. I was hoping that we could get together and have a committee meetings, maybe once Saturday or something, have some of the committee meetings back to back, maybe the finance committee, the ways and means committee, the public works committee, the beautification, some of them back to back, so the residents can come out in here and don't have to come, every day for one committee, and just have like a 2-hour or 3-hour day of committee meetings. So that's my suggestion. I'm hoping to would like to have one maybe this quarter. So if everybody's would like to agree with that, I can get the ball rolling on a date and time. Thank you.
I'm going to second. I definitely think the committees are there for us to test the ideas and shape the legislation that comes before council with resident feedback and input, so that we can be more productive and not harmful when we do pass things here. 1 a quarter for each committee for the big 4, I think, is definitely the direction we should go in. Any other council have any thoughts on looking at how soon we might put a date on the calendar for the first committee meetings?
The only input I have, and that is a good idea, about trying to have them staggered on the same date, so that way residents can come sit for one or sit for all. My only preference would be is, if possible, maybe on a Sunday, because Saturdays are no longer good for me.
And the only other suggestion I might make is that there's got to be a clear break between committee meetings, so that you don't have members that comprise the council or a quorum. But
if it's publicly advertised, you can have a quorum, correct?
yes, but the council can't, you can't have, in the minutes have to be recorded. Yeah, we just want to make sure we stay on top of that. That's all.
Okay, so have a break. Okay.
And the different members would we want to make sure we rotate out of the room and all of that, just to comply with Open Meetings Act. Did you have a proposed date for how soon you wanted to do Ways and Means?
I didn't have a date as of yet, but I will get one, and I'll
Okay.
send the email. I'll send the email out with suggestion, and I will take your consideration on Sundays, because I think, that's a good idea. I know a lot of people have a lot of errands, so it would probably be Sunday afternoon, because people go to church and things like that. I'm sorry?
Oh,
Or not your committee, huh?
What did she say?
she said not on the day that the Commanders play.
Oh, they play every Sunday, though. No, they have a game. They don't always play. No, she did. I'm sorry. My mic is off.
Oh, Councilwoman Brownson, I can't offer any protection. Well, is there any other new business? Okay, well, hearing none, the time is now 9:48 and this meeting is adjourned. Good evening.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.